Good morning from Houston, Texas. I see some comments already. Hi, Roberto. Nice to see you. I will add in here. How's everyone doing? Okay, so what I like to do, of course, is check the government websites for y'all to see what the status is with the government. By the way, if you would like to join the broadcast, if you have questions and want to join, we do have the link to join. And I'll try to, okay, let me try to add that to the comment section. Okay, so for the meantime, I will bring up the government websites. Let's talk about it. So the good news so far is that, March 31st is when one of the proclamations expired, and that was the one related to the one that blocked H-1B and J visas. Okay, so for y'all that you can still process and get your visas, have the interview, thankfully, on that. In terms of the COVID restriction, for the travel restriction based because of COVID, that's still ongoing, where unfortunately it's just for a few countries. Off the top of my head, on China, South Africa, Brazil, Eastern European countries in the Shenzhen area, region, and also the UK, and I know I'm missing at least one more. But okay, let me pull up the visa bulletin. Let's see what's going on with the Department of State. Okay, well, the visa bulletin is still for April. Coming soon, they say, is for May. We're expecting big things, more advanced movement, okay, for the future in terms of priority date for the May bulletin, but that's not out yet. Okay, so now going to the travel.state website, see if there's any news that they want to share with us. In the meantime, of course, if you have any questions, my friends, go ahead and ask it. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me go ahead and see. Okay, Roberto, let me answer your question first, my friend. I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you, sir? I'm moving the camera so I can see the question. Okay. Your question is, after letter approved, how long will it take National Visa Center to give you a visa? You mean petition your family? Well, that's a big jump from all the steps. It really goes step by step in between. And, after an NVC, after petition is approved, then I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, when you say letter approval, I think you mean petition. NVC on average usually takes about 1 month, in our experience, for them to give us the case number, because it's a different case number than from the receipt number on the petition. So when that petition is transferred over, think of it as like a physical file. When it gets transferred over to National Visa Center, it will create in the system a case number. And that case number will also create an invoice ID number so that you can pay the next set of fees. And that is $445 total per applicant, per immigrant applicant. So some people think it's only $445 for just one application, but it's per applicant. Okay, that's coming from outside the US into the US with a visa. And then after that, after you pay the fee, then it will open up to let you have submit the DS-260 information from there into the system. Again, the DS-260, just like the fees, is per applicant. So if you only pay for, let's say, your spouse first, it only opens the DS-260 for your spouse, not for any children. Okay, hopefully that helps. But in terms of timing, if you're asking me pre-pandemic, that was usually on average, again, it depends on the country, the consulate embassy as well, but on average, it would take at least 3 months from the NVC also receiving your financial evidence to show you're the only if you're hopefully the only sponsor, but if you have a joint sponsor, you provide that information as well. But average 3 months to get an interview. But obviously, this is the pandemic, still the pandemic, or at least you could say that if no one believes in it, some people don't believe in it. But in that case, then let's just call it something else. There's a backlog. So that's what's going on. They are prioritized based on the COVID travel restriction. They are, and even the Department of State website, they are prioritizing cases that are IR for immigrant relative. Unfortunately, non-immigrant applicants, for example, like fiance visa, that is not prioritized, unfortunately. So they are still having interviews for that in general outside of those restricted countries. I have heard some progress, at least for the Guangzhou consulate, that they have provided some openings for interviews for the fiance visa. So that's good. There is some progress. Unfortunately, that's not for everyone. So you do have to look into your account, by the way. And we do have resources on what websites that is in our link below to our website. We decided to put some resources on our website because there's so many links and websites to go to. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a general idea, Roberto. There's a lot more I can go into. In fact, that gives me a good idea. Let me write this down. I'll go into more detail in a separate video about the steps after and petition approved. Okay, great idea. Okay, now the next thing. Hi, Elena. Nice to see you from New York City again. Hopefully you're safe out there. I've heard, it's a bit dangerous out there with a lot more criminal activity, but hopefully you're okay and all of your friends are okay as well. Be safe out there. Okay. Hi, Lynn. You filed your 751 last June 2020. Okay. It's almost coming up in 12 months. Until now, no updates for biometrics. Do I need to call USCIS? In fact, I have something better for you. Instead of calling USCIS, you want to first check the processing time. Okay. Let me see if I can do that for you right now. Let me know which service center it's at. Usually it goes to, well, at least I always send it to California Service Center, usually. Okay, USCIS. So this is what you do, Lynn. Let me share my screen once I get to it. This is what I like to do so you know where to go. You can go do this on your free time. Okay, here we go. So I'm at the main uscis.gov website. You scroll down under this box, manage your case, check processing time for your specific application. But you might know this already, Lynn, but in general, it does take at least 18 months to process a 751 application, but you haven't even received your biometrics. But I'm assuming, actually MSC is the first 3-letter, MSC. Okay, so scrolling down. So MSC is not necessarily the service center, but if you're looking at your receipt notice, I believe it's the bottom left corner will tell you which service center is located, because we have California, Nebraska, Potomac, and Texas, Vermont. Vermont is usually for victim visa applications, but I'm here at the Nebraska Service Center. It's saying 11 to 26 months. So yours is about, just using Nebraska Service Center as an example, you're looking about 10-month mark right now that you've been waiting since your receipt date. Okay, you said June 2020. So if my math is correct, that's at least 10 months. So the reason I share this is because for you to inquire your receipt date has to show before February 2nd, 2019, and yours is June 2020. So technically, you can't even submit online or call in. I mean, you can call in, but you're going to be wasting your time, to be honest. And if you talk to other applicants, and I can assure you, everyone's going to share the same sentiment that it is a very frustrating process to wait on the call with USCIS, and then find out later that they won't even allow you to submit inquiry. So that's one thing that Trump created. I don't know if this will change in terms of extending this time range, because usually when it's that far out for any application, they're including literally 100% of the applications. And sometimes there are some cases that there's a much longer delay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a delay for all cases. That's why they have a range, estimated range. And that, okay, so you wrote, so anyway, this is important because if you don't, since yours, like for example, even if yours says February 3rd, 2019, then you cannot submit inquiry. I mean, you can try, but every time we've tried it, it didn't work. Yours said NBC, National Benefit Center. It's not listed here, so it may have transferred to one of these service centers after the fact. But kind of give you an idea. Let me go to California. Let's see if that's anything different right now. It also says 11 to 26 months. So it's quite a long time. But I mean, some people ask this question, Lynn, do you need to call in? We could try again, but it doesn't mean you have to follow up if that's what you are saying. You don't necessarily have to follow up. Just make sure biometric notices and also receipt notices are taking a long time in general to receive. It's a problem. Pandemic is causing problems with the U.S. Postal Service, USPS, and also USCIS, as most people know. We've had clients that receive a notice just to say that USCIS will use your past biometrics, your fingerprints. So if you haven't received that yet, then you probably will get a biometric appointment in the future. And since you're file 751, you've done this before, but for anyone listening, biometrics is not a bad thing. It really actually shows that there's some kind of progress in your case. In this situation, the government is trying to check if you have any kind of criminal background history that can include arrest, conviction, and convictions also mean a plea bargain where you make an agreement. By the way, if you have a situation like that, please consult with a criminal lawyer. Okay, I highly recommend that because you might not know this, but some crimes, actually a good amount of them, will affect your immigration status. So it's better to at least consult with a criminal lawyer. And it doesn't have to be one lawyer that does criminal law and immigration. To be honest, I think that's, for any state, that's a lot of information to keep updated. As you know, like I'm doing these live shows at least twice a week, and I'll be doing that soon also in the Facebook group. There's just not enough time to keep updated with multiple areas of law. So anyway, I always recommend that you find a lawyer that just focuses on one type of law. Now let me get rid of, let me remove my screen here so we can, okay, so next question. Hopefully that answers your question, Lynn. Now, John Million, you got a divorce from your wife, and she was a green card holder. You did not know you could get your green card after divorcing her. You have a child together. What can you do? You didn't know you could get your green card. Well, if you haven't filed the I-130, then it's too late. That's what it sounds like in your comment there, your question. What can you do? I would need to know. Okay, now 2 years have passed. What can you do? But if I'm piecing together your two comments, maybe you did file your I-130 and you did get approved before. Maybe you're talking about the 751 process that you did not file for the permanent resident status for the 10-year card. I think that's what you mean, because you mentioned your second comment here. You say that 2 years have passed. What can you do? So if you don't mind confirming that, but I think that's what you mean, what can you do? So we have actually several cases where some clients have forgotten to file the 751 application. That happens quite often, actually. So this is what we do. We file it even after it's the 2 years expired on your conditional status. And what they do anyway is that they will send you a receipt notice, right? Eventually, hopefully within 1 month. But eventually when you get that receipt notice for a 751 case, even though it's late, they're supposed to extend your status automatically. We've had that every time on our receipt notices, okay? So that's a good thing. Now, the reason they do this is because they already know that they're slow on processing these 751 cases. So they do that also for people who file untimely. So keep that in mind, okay? And even though you are now divorced from your ex-wife, you can also we file these all the time, a 751 based on divorce. So it's not a joint application. Even though there's a signature line page for your spouse, you're not married anymore, right? So it doesn't require her to sign it anymore because you got divorced. And it sounds like you write in here, you get a divorce. I don't know if that means it's already completed or not, but most people have this question, and that is, can I file the 751 even though I have not filed the divorce petition to start the case, or I have not completed the divorce case itself? And yes, you can go ahead and file it. I recommend filing as soon as possible because there could be a time that USCIS refers your case information to the Immigration Court. EOIR is what we call it, Executive Office of Immigration Review. Okay, so hopefully it helps everyone as well going through this situation. Okay, well, here's your second comment. No, you did not do anything to get the divorce. Okay, without finding anything now. As to a spouse, I did not know I could get a green card we'll be filing something within 2 years. So I still don't understand if you if you have the conditional status from before, but sounds like in your comment that you did not start the divorce case. So you definitely want to get that started as soon as possible. If, most of our contacts, we have contacts of other lawyers across the U.S. So we're happy to find a divorce lawyer for you. John Million, if you need it, maybe it can save you some time. You still have to do your own due diligence to see if if their communication style is good, because I'm sure some of you have heard of, y'all are on here for a reason, right? Part of it is to, of course, get updates about immigration, get tips. I want to provide value, but sometimes for us, we want to use this as a platform to share reasons, maybe even red flags of what to watch out for in hiring a professional. Because I've heard, unfortunately, really horror stories. And of course, we can't help it. Our office cannot help every single person that watches our channel. We would love to, but there's a lot of good lawyers out there. You just have to sort through them and ask them the right questions. Okay. Let's see here. So John Million, I hope that answers your question. I'm just not too sure if you actually had the conditional status from before, but everything I just said is based on you already having the conditional status, okay? All right, Lynn, you're welcome. And the last Minecraft player. That's funny. That's a good name. Claudia, you're from California. Nice to see you. Need to schedule an appointment. Oh, sure. Yeah. That reminds me then. The best way to do that is to, you could call that number down below, or if you're busy, you're at work or something, you just happen to open this channel right now, the live show, you can text this number and just mention, because you might not know this if you're new to the channel, but we have a free offer, 15 minutes preliminary. It's kind of like this, but it would be, private phone call. Preliminary 15 minutes free to you, my friends, since you're watching us on YouTube and also the Facebook page and the Facebook group. But you also have to provide this secret code. It's not so secret, but if you're watching this, then we know that you're literally watching this from YouTube or the Facebook. So green card guys, okay? So if you text or call in with that code, then we'll know automatically to set you up with a free 15 minutes, save you some time, okay? We just want to be able to point you in the right direction. We understand we're not able to help every single person out there, but sometimes it's kind of like going to a doctor for a second opinion. And so you might want to do the same for immigration. Or if you like to do on your own, if you want more time, we offer 30 minutes and 45 minutes. Those are available on the URL here. The other way, my friends, is if you want to fill out the intake form down below, our cares team will contact you within the next, if not today, then the next business day. Alrighty. Okay, Romeo. Biden proposal for 11 million. Is it still on? I sure hope so. I mean, it's still there, but I mean, I don't think there's any progress on that. We'll have a video about that, about an update this week, hopefully tomorrow, actually, because there is some talk, but it's not. To be honest, from what I understand, it's not a big movement. Okay, not like a couple weeks ago, where the House of Representatives did pass 2 immigration bills, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, and also the Dreamer and American Promise Act. Okay, so we'll like to give you updates on that, but most of it I can give you a quick summary right now is that all these proposals are still on. It's just a matter of what they're going to agree to. The Senate, that's our problem as a Senate, and now Biden is, what my fear is, to be honest, is that, Biden is talking about this infrastructure bill. I mean, it's good in the sense that it will help a lot of people in America, but at the same time, in clean water, we need that. In broadband access, clean water is important for sure. And, but what my fear is that they focus so much on infrastructure that they don't talk about immigration also. But in general, there's always multiple proposals, different topics going on at the same time. But maybe, hopefully, there's a way that they can, get this through. Because I think if they, at the same time, more or less, because if they, I think, based on past performances, past Congress sessions, when they only focus on immigration, they're going to beat it down. The Republicans are going to beat it down, and they're going to focus on the border. They always do that. So in some ways, hopefully this will be a good strategy. If you had happened to listen to President Biden, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago on a Friday, he had in a press conference, I think it was only major press conference actually on TV. And he was saying, he has tried to learn from previous presidents. And what he gathered from that is, everything has a time and place. Of course, I don't want any proposal for immigration to wait until like next year, because that next year is midterm. So I don't want them to wait that long, but I think he's got a plan. So I know they're trying to gather the votes, especially on the moderate Democrats. I mean, hopefully moderate Democrats are already on board, but also to get the moderate Republicans, okay, because we need 10 more votes. So that is my strategy, I suppose, if I were like a consultant in trying to gather what the heck's going on in Congress. That's what I think is going on. Okay, back to Ja Million. Okay, you already got the divorce, great, but you did not know you could get a green card within 2 years after filing divorce. No tools as well. So I want to know what I can do now. Again, I don't know if you have. The way you're phrasing the question, it sounds like you don't have any kind of resident status, meaning you didn't have a conditional status. So if that's the case, then it's too late. You can't get status from your ex-spouse, but hopefully you did have the conditional status before. Okay, so that really just a black and white answer. There's no exception there. If you already got divorced and you didn't file anything before, it sounds like that's what's going on. Because if you look at the visa bulletin, let me see if I can pull that up. Usually, so you can file a petition. Um, let me add this to the screen. Okay, so we're at the April 2021 bulletin. But for this kind of answers John Million's question in a way, but spouses and children of permanent resident, F2A, and assuming you're not from China, India, Mexico, or Philippines, then F2A right now shows current. So what this means is that even if it has anything else with priority date, okay, you can file the petition. That's step number one, I-130. But if it shows current, that also means you can file for the um, 485 application, okay? That's very important that you do that as soon as possible if it shows C for your category. So from now on, we're going to update y'all about the monthly or the visa bulletins on a monthly basis as soon as it comes out, because you might be eligible for something that you might not know of. But if it does not show the letter C, for example, then unfortunately you have to show that you have maintained your status. So that is something that most people don't know about. Okay, so you have to maintain your status if you're banking on this family preference category. Okay, so it must, yeah. Okay, so let's see. Chambers, your question is, what is happening in F3 category processing times? Well, if you're referring to the interviews, I think I can answer this in two different ways. If you're referring to interviews at the consulates, then the immediate relatives, they are being prioritized. Okay, so F3, that is not considered immediate relative, because F3 is for married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. If I see anything different on that, well, let me see if I can find this. Okay. See if there's, we can pull up the visa news. There we go. Oh, they don't even have an order anymore. Okay, that's crazy. Okay. Alrighty. In the meantime, friends, let me know where y'all watching from. I always think it's interesting how far my YouTube channel is reaching. I just have a few more minutes, but I do want to share that I believe 5 or 5:30. I do have a live show about the shoot. What did I even talk about earlier? What am I talking about later today? Okay, let's check this out. I have so many videos coming up, live shows. Okay, I have a video coming about the actually at 3:30 today about the USCS deadlines and what's going on with that. Okay, so let me go back to the question. F3 category. Okay, so I don't see any new information from the Department of State outside of April 1st, stating that they have resumed routine visa services, but that depends on the consulate. Okay, it's not every consulate. They call it consulate. They refer to it as a post, so it's post by post. And what I recommend in general is that you search online for the consular embassy website, and most of the time, if they have some kind of update, they will mention it on, if not the homepage, at least the little section that says visas. You want to click on that. Okay, so let me see if I can find about their immediate relative here. The exceptions. Okay, right. So let me share my screen on this one. Okay, that's not what I want to share. I want to share the other one. 1 second here. Okay, well, Stop share. Okay, now share my screen again. Okay, I'm looking straight at the Federal Register. This is where any proclamations or any new changes to immigration, this is where I go. It's a bit more detailed, but it is as accurate as possible. Okay. Again, I like to keep it as accurate as possible for y'all. Okay, so this is the proclamation related to the COVID restrictions, travel restrictions. So it does not apply to anyone who is a lawful permanent resident of the U.S. I use the word alien, but it really means immigrant. So any immigrant who is a spouse of a U.S. citizen or resident, um, any immigrant who is a parent of a U.S. citizen or resident, and also uh, provided that the U.S. citizen or resident is unmarried and under 21, and any immigrant who is a sibling of a U.S. citizen or resident, assuming that both are unmarried and under 21 for the sibling. So it's very limited. So what I'm trying to say is that it does not include the F3 category. So that means, of course, Chambers it, NUK, Chambers it. Also depends, of course, which country you're waiting on. Um, so hopefully that helps. Because if you're not part of one of these countries that is blocked because of this COVID travel restriction, it's really because of the variants of the COVID-19. Then they should be processing in general. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, friends, I would love to stay on longer and answer your questions. I appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing your video to your friends and colleagues. Greatly appreciate it. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe so you can stay tuned with our more updates and with tips and news. But until next time, continue wearing a mask. Take care now.